sit down. I'm going to go ahead and try and start on time. I'm Debbie Pearson with the Wellness Committee, and I have my flyer to prompt me on the introduction. We have Dr. Ed Coyle here. He taught at the University of Texas for 42 years. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, and he knows all about exercise and staying healthy and moving and not sitting all day long, which I think every one of us is probably guilty of. But he's going to tell us all of the science behind it, and then his wife is the registered dietitian who's going to come and do 2 series for us about eating right. So if you can...
Mention that he was quoted in the AARP.
Yes. He came here through Linda Prentice. She saw a quote about Ed in the AARP National Magazine, and she forwarded it to me, and here he is. So anytime you see something wonderful that you want us to bring, please bring it to someone at the Wellness Committee, and we will jump through every hoop we can to get you what you want to know. So without anything more, I'm going to let Ed try and convince you to all get up and move throughout your day. So please give Ed a warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I'll be telling you a few things here, where I imagine you all can teach me a lot of things about how do you adjust to retirement after 42 years. Yeah, so I'm still working on that process. But when I was at UT, I have a hard time saying was it? When I was at UT. Okay. When I was at UT, I directed the Human Performance Laboratory. And so I'll show you how we researched the body's limits to human performance, mostly athletic performance. Endurance athletes, weightlifters, things like that. But the last 10 years I've become more interested in health and how to take that information we learn from athletes and apply it. So you'll be seeing some of that. So this is one example of our athlete testing. This is Leo Manzano, born and raised in Texas, and he won a silver medal in the 2012 Olympics, and he's running on a treadmill there. So we learned he has a very big heart. He's only 5'5", but he has the heart of a person 6'4". And that's certainly very helpful when you're running for endurance. We are fortunate to have many Olympic world record holders in swimming at the university. So we got a chance to see how they tick and find out especially the best way to rest them for 3 weeks before competition. That becomes so important in the swimmers. So the point I'm making is, we study different parts of the body, the heart and how much blood the heart can pump and blood volume. We do muscle biopsies, get small pieces of muscle from the leg muscles to see its biochemistry and blood vessels. And we try and understand how the nervous system is changing with years and years of 8 years, 12 years of endurance training. So sometimes I say, yes, it's kind of like we were mechanics building top-level race cars, Formula One race cars. And we decided, okay, let's take what we've learned there and apply it to the love bug. Remember Harvey, the love the love bug. You know, and the thinking is, well, it's the love bug, it's a Volkswagen, but you can be the best Volkswagen that you can. How can we help people achieve their best physical state and abilities? So that's been what I've been doing for 10 years. One big thing is be active. And I forgot to emphasize on the first slide that my message is pretty simple. Most important thing is sit less, move more, balance. I can't do it very well. Balance and exercise. If you can do those, that's 90% or more of the equation. It's unfortunate that our lifestyles, sitting in front of the computer all day, we don't move, we sit. You know, we're really built to be hunters and gatherers, and, you know, not going great distances, just, you know, 12 farmers in the Amish country who are still practicing farming like they used to do in the 1800s are healthier. And they're only taking about 12,000 steps a day. It's not a huge amount. And I'll put that in perspective. So we're meant to move. We're not meant to sit too long. So, you know, my lab has been trying to understand how long can you sit before bad things start happening. You can sit 4 hours. I know that. I'm not sure, but you can't sit 8 hours. So we haven't looked at 6 yet, or anything in between. We just know, you know, 4 seems to be okay, but 8 isn't. So, but 80% of the U.S. population, they don't get enough physical activity, movement. And only 14% of older adults. Sorry for this complex slide, but the point of it is, you know, it's titled the U.S. Survival Curve. So this is the United States, and the blue line is our present population. And you can see the size of the population starts decreasing as people die, and all of that is premature. We really should follow a line like the red line. In other words, most people should be able to increase their, well, they say lifespan. Now we're calling it their health span, be healthy, for at least 10 to 15 years longer. And if we look at what's causing what we would say are premature deaths, people dying too soon, leading cause is heart disease, cancer, obesity, and inactivity is number 4. But inactivity, not moving enough, a lot of people think is number 1, because a lot of heart disease is caused by inactivity. And obesity is partly due to inactivity. And even cancer, you know, can be reduced, the incidence can be markedly reduced by staying active. So in my opinion, of course I'm biased, being physically active and exercise it's the single best investment for health. And that's, we're trying to, the government kind of knows that. Maybe they're still trying to reconcile, if people have to move more frequently at work, maybe will they be less productive? They have to get up and exercise every 2 to 4 hours. So that's a big change in our thinking. What this shows is, you know, you can see the orange arrow, that's the 6,000 steps a day. Makes a very big difference for, you know, for us, people over 65, 70. You can see on the red line above the 6,000, when you take fewer and fewer steps per day, there's a very rapid or accelerated increase in the rate of all-cause mortality or death. But the good news is that every 1,000 steps that you take extra, you will reduce your chance of death by 15%. If that were a drug, that would be a huge miracle drug. 15% by just 1,000 steps. 1,000 steps takes about 15 minutes of walking. 15 minutes of walking will reduce your risk by 15%. So I'm going to recommend 6,000 steps. And you can see that big donut in the middle. That again is over steps per day. It's showing you where 16,000 steps is for people who are over 60. And you can see if they get 6,000 steps a day with a donut, you know, their hazard ratio is low. But if getting less than that, there's a very rapid increase. The other line is for people less than 60 years of age. So the U.S. average is only, on average, Americans take 4,000 steps. Yeah, we don't bicycle to work and walk to work and, you know, do a lot of those things that many European cultures do. You know, we're recommending 6,000 now. And if you stay at home, you get about 2,000 steps per day. Do you know the game rock, paper, scissors? Well, that's what this is. Rock, paper, scissors. And I wrote a review article for a top journal. That's an English journal. They're very conservative and right and all. And I was very proud of the fact that I was able to sneak in this picture. It's hard to see it, but you see the rock, paper, scissors in there. So it's a game like, well, I asked my daughter, you know, how is it that paper beats rock? That doesn't make any sense. How does paper beat rock? It covers it. It smothers it. It prevents the rock from being a rock. Same thing. What we've been studying is if you are inactive, something about being inactive, not moving your muscles enough every few hours, prevents your body from showing good adaptations. Normally, when you exercise, good things happen. Okay, healthy things. If you've been sitting for 8 hours, when you go out and exercise, the good things don't happen. The healthy adaptations don't occur. It's strange. We have to think differently. Sitting is not just the lack of exercise. Sitting is not just the lack of good. Sitting is doing some unhealthy things that are totally different than the good things that you achieve with exercise. Does that make sense? We don't know what it is. Since we don't know what it is, nobody wants to talk about it. But it's there. So people who sit all day and then go out and exercise are not receiving the benefits, the health benefits of that exercise. Which is a bummer to me because that's what I did for 30 some odd years. Sit all day long and 5 p.m. get up and exercise. Okay, I'd like to just touch on how to prevent a fall. And I know that's very important. We know that falls are the number one cause of injury for people over 65, and that 95% of the hip fractures are by falling. But falls can largely be prevented if you understand, and these are big words, mechanical stability. That just means have your feet firmly on the ground. Have your feet under you. Limb support, be strong enough to balance on one leg if you have to prevent a fall. And rapid reactions means, just be able to move your foot quick and get it back under you. So the thing is, fall is when, base of support is important, keeping your body weight over your feet. Not that wide. And you can see on the left, a person in the process of tripping, and his body weight is ahead of his feet. Unless he can quickly get his feet back under him, he's going to fall. Either by the rear leg undoing itself from the rug and moving it quickly, or the front leg moving forward, rapidly lifting up and moving forward. So there are all these biomechanical studies. And since, I'm 72, so our young professors at UT used me as an example of an older person to see if they can trick me. So they put me on a treadmill, and the treadmill is meant to stop and jerk and move sideways and things like that, and they look to see if I can catch myself. And you should also challenge yourself for being able to stand on one leg. And that takes practice, and I need to work on that. I'm not sure I can do 20 seconds. But that's the goal for us over 65. And on the bright side is that we can reduce fall risks significantly. There's one program, and I'll just leave this with you. It's from the Center of Disease Control, so that would be easy to look up. And there are many different interventions, programs, ways to practice that work. And you can see there what works for a community dwelling older adults. So that's right if you page through the CDC. And so this shows one program of where you try and step on the red tiles over the course, and it develops over the course of 24 weeks, getting more difficult. So there are a lot of ways that you can do this. Some easy ways is, you can see, if you make out a person holding a chair in front of them, and you're kind of just marching in place, holding the chair. So that's good. Combined with knee bends and holding onto the chair to strengthen your legs. Ankle stretches, standing on the tips of your toes while holding onto a chair. That's all important to try and get that leg around. If you catch it on something. And then the other is the sit to stand strength. So sitting in a chair and just, practice getting up to the standing position, and progress to the point where you can do that, and then how many times you can do it. And it's amazing because these programs reduce the risk of fall by 40%. And this program, which added strength exercises, reduced the risk of fall by 36%. And the strength exercise they use is resistance bands. You can use ankle weights. You can use balance training along with it. So I know you have a well-supplied gym here that has the equipment, and there are a lot of ways you can accomplish this. There's not only just one way or the best way. The best way is what you do. That's it. So check with your physical trainer and see see what you can work out. So the take-home message is foot placement. Keep your feet under you. Get your limbs strong for limb support, and practice some strength exercises and faster movements. So the exercise can be what you can tolerate and what is needed. Again, no one size fits all, no one is best. Brisk walking and leg strengthening is a good idea. Indoor cycling and weightlifting with legs. Weightlifting with legs, could be something like just doing squats, or a leg press device. And I've been interested in indoor cycling and intense exercise. What do you think the major reason people don't exercise? That they're here, lack of time? Lazy, yeah. Tired. I think all of us. If you ask people, the population of the U.S., they will say, I don't have time. But that may be an excuse, right? Where either if they had the time, they might not do it. But we figured, okay, so for these people who say they don't have time, because all you need is 30 minutes a day, that's too much. All right, how about 10? So we said, let's come up with a workout in 10 minutes. And that's especially important for people over 40 because you lose muscle as you get older, as you probably know, and as I'm struggling with. And the loss of muscle starts at age 25 and goes 8% per decade from 40 to 70. But then after 70, there's a 15% loss per decade. So, and we you know, it's been obvious in the past. If you look at old pictures of older adults, they get smaller. Well, our pictures aren't showing us getting smaller because our muscles on the top there, you can see it looks like a steak, 2 steaks. And that's a cross-section slice of a leg from an MRI, not a real slice, from an MRI of a 25-year-old and a 63-year-old. And you can see the outside is about the same, the perimeter, but you can see on the right-hand side with the 63-year-old, you can see the muscle is much smaller, but the fat around it is much thicker. So, you know, that's a new phenomena, and it's called sarcopenic obesity, losing muscle and becoming fat. So we have to train our legs to offset the loss of muscle mass, you know, which I think is especially important in the legs rather than the arms. And so we developed a 10-minute workout where you sprint on a bicycle as fast as you can for 4 seconds. Just 4 seconds. But in 4 seconds, you can produce 8 times the amount of power than you can produce if you were cycling for 5 minutes. 8 times. Our muscles have a system so we can sprint for a few seconds. Very fast, very high power. Yeah, to get away from the lion, to dodge an oncoming car. And so that's high power. That's a good stress on the muscle. It doesn't hurt. You don't fatigue. But it's ideal for maintaining muscle mass. Then you take a 30-second rest, and you do it 18 times. And so this shows a 70-year-old woman
Don't mention the resistance on this bicycle.
Yeah, I mean, women who never exercised before love this because they could let out anything they wanted to. And it's the resistance, what's unique about it is the resistance is offered by inertia. We don't set the resistance for any one person. So if any engineers in here, the flywheel is heavy, and it takes energy to accelerate it. Person who may not be as powerful just won't accelerate it as rapidly. So the resistance matches what you could put into it. Yeah, so it's unique. You know, I've received a patent for this. It allows the muscle and the nervous system to be trained in a optimal way. So anyway, yeah, so we measured muscle mass in these older adults before and after training, and they significantly increase their thigh muscle mass, and we measured that with MRIs. And this just shows the percent improvements on the right with the older adults as compared, we had done another study on younger adults. And the older adults responded very well. And they, in doing this, they also increased their walking and rising time, and heart function improved, and arterial elasticity improved. So we got some jokes about this when we first published our papers, because we said this is 4 seconds of exercise. So you see there's some of the New York Times ran 4 articles over the course of about a year, kind of tongue-in-cheek. Can you really receive benefits from 4 seconds of exercise? Well, you do it 18 times in 10 minutes, and it's very high power. Yes, but you do. And so we made a bike for that does the inertial loading and measures acceleration, essentially. Are there any basketball fans in here? Some? Yeah. Oh, we also made a recumbent bicycle for older adults. And that's me there with a COVID beard. Anybody recognize who this is? Tim Duncan, you're right. So Tim was getting a bit older for professional basketball players. So we went down and worked with the team, and with the whole team. But our primary focus was to try and extend the career of Tim Duncan. So that's what a 7 foot man looks like trying to cycle, and he looks really put out there. Okay, so that's the end of what I have for you. And if we have a little time, we can take some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How frequently does one need to do the 72 sessions?
Yeah.
Every day, every other day?
For the question was how frequently do you do the 72 seconds exercise? We did it for our research 3 times a week. So 3 times a week for 10 minutes. You don't sweat. so you can do it in your, work clothes or things like that.
My local channel had gone down, so I was watching the regular channels that people outside of Westminster have access to, and they were advertising frequently, sitting down, and they were complaining, they were saying that we sit and we don't move. So the object of this thing they were promoting was to sit down and keep your legs going like you were cycling or stair-stepping for whatever period of time. If that machine, it does what they say it does, would that be a good thing to have, or would that be one of those wastes of money that you probably would buy, use for a week or so, and then leave alone?
Yeah. It wasn't the advertising chair yoga, where you sit in a chair and you do this kind of exercise, and no. I haven't seen that one.
It's pedaling.
Just pedaling, and it's not even, oh, yeah, you put it under your desk.
Right.
That's right, okay.
It's motorized.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
There's potential.
It's better than sitting there. I forgot to mention, one of my former students came up with an exercise you can do at your desk. And it's while you're sitting down, and you just raise up on your toe. They call it the soleus push-up. The soleus is a muscle in the leg, and you're just moving onto your toes, and you do that, and it shows some impressive, considering it's not much exercise, that shows some impressive improvements in how we measure health. So he's a good scientist, so I think you can get some benefit from even low-level exercise if you have to sit. If you don't have to sit, move.
I'm a little troubled by parts of the presentation. I think as a guide, the guide that's published in many places of 150 minutes a week. And most of us here do that. There's full exercise programs here, and they're very good. But when I was working, traveling around the world, there's also brain exercise. In the particular field I was in, you had to read a lot continually and write. And if you weren't doing that, you were meeting on an appointment schedule or in a conference room. All of those are sitting positions. And now with the rise in technology, it's going to be worse because most people are doing it on computers, which I'm not totally happy with either. I taught philosophy, religion, and a lot of the people that were well exercised physically didn't pass the course because they didn't read.
They didn't read, yeah.
And they didn't engage in meaningful brain activity. So getting the balance, it's not just, nobody's going to argue against exercise, but fitting it into the person's average life and work is a difficult thing.
Well, if your work requires so much brain activity, that's when you have to do the 10-minute workouts. I've mentored doctoral students who are writing their dissertations, analyzing their data, and we have to tell them, no, you can't go out for an hour run. you have to do this. And they still physically do very well, win state championships in cycling. And they turn in their dissertations. But you raised a point which is very important, which I didn't touch on. The recommendations by the U.S. government, by the U.S. Public Health Service now, is that you should put in 150 to 300 minutes a week. But what they say is, they say of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise. They don't say anything about walking. In other words, walking is low intensity. Moderate exercise is jogging. Running is vigorous. They gave no recommendations at all about how much walking, how much low intensity. It's a big mistake, because exercise is good, it helps. What I've been showing you is you need to walk. You do need low intensity exercise. You can't just sit all day and then go out and put in a 45-minute run. Low intensity, 6,000 steps. And the next version of the recommendations will be 2028. So I'm actually writing articles right now to encourage them to recognize the value of low intensity, just moving throughout the day, not just jogging and running.
That's good for this audience to hear that, so thank you. And we got another question here.
Okay, what are your recommendations for those of us that have to ride around in a chair like I am? I go to do the new step in the gym, and I can do some of the standing exercises you showed.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your recommendations?
Yeah, I would try for your legs, the soleus push-up.
I can do that.
Yeah,
I do that.
yeah. And look online, soleus push-up. Yeah, yeah. That would be good for the quads, yeah.
And then I do weights with arms.
Yeah.
Any other recommendations?
Well, you mentioned you can stand.
I can stand but not, and walk around but not. I could never run.
But can you hold on to a chair
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
and do some of the
I do that.
toe raises and
I do some of that.
and the marching in
I do
place?
that.
Yeah. Yeah, those would really help.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I sit at the computer like most of us do. I heard once that you should get up every certain amount of time and get away. But, so if I'm sitting 2 hours and I get up, what do I need to do for that little bit? I mean, can I just go make myself some tea? Or do I need to go for a walk or exercises in between?
That's a very good question, and we don't know. There have been attempts to have people get up and walk for 2.5 minutes, or walk up 2 flights of stairs, and they've been measuring insulin sensitivity. So maybe good for diabetics, type 2 diabetics. But their data is not really convincing to me. I think there's a lot more So I do know we published a study where if you do 3 minutes of those sprints that I was showing you, the 4-second sprints, every hour, then that does prevent the negative effects, the unhealthy effects of inactivity. But I don't know, I'm not sure what else. They're focusing mostly now on how many flights of stairs do you have to run. So,
There are plenty of stairs when you get over here.
Do you have some research, an opinion or research on the advantages or no advantages of wearing some kind of Fitbit or watch or something that counts your steps and maybe keeps track of heart rate or something?
yes. Those, especially the wrist monitors that you can get, and Fitbit is the largest brand name. They're accurate, and they tell you, if you're getting your 6,000 steps a day. But they've also found that when people wear it, they walk more. Because they're being observed, even though it's not being observed by a person. They want to see the report at the end of the week going up. So there's a whole area of exercise psychology, how to get people moving. So that's one way. Accountability.
Anyone else, or, oh, I see one over there.
You know the 4-second sprints. Did you only try 4 seconds? You tried 6 seconds, 5 seconds? So why did you pick? How do you know that 4 seconds is optimal?
Yeah. We did 4-second sprints, and why didn't we do 5-second or 6-second? How do we know 4 seconds is optimal? Yeah, we guessed, but we did try longer sprints, 6 seconds, and we did that by putting lead plates on the flywheel, the circular thing. So there was more inertia, and it took us longer, to go from start to a certain speed of going. But both methods allowed us to reach maximal power. So that was the whole thing, it's maximal power. We decided if we can reach maximal power in 4 seconds and maximal brain activation, neuromuscular recruitment in 4 seconds, that's good enough. And plus, we can do a lot of them without getting fatigued or sweating.
Another one.
Would this method work if you're doing aqua aerobics? With the tube, if you can't weight bear and you did it 4 seconds with 30 seconds off, you can get very out of breath in the water.
Yeah.
Do you think this would work for those who cannot weight bear?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Because exercise in the water, you expend most of your energy raising your leg, because your leg has to push all the water away. In cycling, it's the other way, it's pushing down. So it's totally different. Have athletes when they can't run with an ankle injury go running. It's totally different trying to run in the pool than run on land. But still, it's exercise, and it could work.
Well, I thank you. I think are we done, or is there one more question? One.
The swimming program at UT was so successful, and Eddie Reese won 15 national championships, I think it was. Were you a secret weapon he had?
No. He taught me more than I taught him. In fact, I mentioned a big thing in swimming is taper. They rest for 3 weeks before competition. They train hard the whole year. And, whether they will succeed in their goal depends on what happens during 3 weeks of reduced training. Reese is the expert. So we studied his swimmers we measured arm power. So we have a method to use your arms rather than your legs. And we showed that his swimmers regained arm power at a rate which was exactly on target to perform well at the national championships. Then we tried to apply that to the women's team. And the coach eventually told me, Coyle, you just make me anxious. When things weren't, quite on target where we thought they might be. So Eddie Reese certainly has, there's science and there's art. He's an artist.
Thank you so much. This was great. Thank you from all of us.